Hit the deck, you owlets, and unlock those drawing gons. This is part hoot of the gesture drawing tutorial. In this video, we're just going to be going over how to capture some of those contours in the body instead of using smoother, silkier lines. We won't be completely going over all the anatomy, just how to give your drawings a little bit of depth, right? So when using this method, or when you start to advance, I guess, what you want to think is like circles and ovals overlapping each other. Or if you don't want to use circles and ovals, you can use like triangles and rectangles, but eventually you want to use shapes that are a little bit, obviously a little bit more organic feeling, like smooth and round, right? So pull yourself up a gesture, right? And then I'm just gonna go over and break down the body into circles and ovals, and that's pretty much it. Now, they're not going to be perfect circles and ovals, obviously. Don't worry about any mistakes you make. As you improve, you'll get better. But for now, let's just go over this, right? Get yourself a darker pencil if you have one, or if you don't, I always recommend just drawing lightly, so that way when you come with your darker pencil, or if you need to just put more pressure on your pencil, you can do so. So I guess I'll just start with like from the neck and down, right? So from the neck into the head, you've got this right here. And how much you can really consider any parts of the body an oval is all about how far you want to push it. So the neck isn't exactly an oval, it's more like a cylinder, but if you really wanted to push it, right, you could make it kind of this oval-like shape. Not saying anyone's neck looked like that, but if you had to push it to really get the understanding of how it's overlapping or how it's connecting into another part of the body, that's how you go about it. And then straight into the shoulders, they're kind of hidden, or the, your shoulders, they're hidden right behind the neck and a little bit behind your, this thing right here, the deltoid, I think it's called, that right there. So the shoulder goes into it and kind of hides in it in the back because it goes off into like your shoulder blades, right? And what's over there is just this, right? And that right there is what your shoulder or your traps would really look like. And if you really want to push it, you know what I'm saying, make it a little bit more wonky looking. Still try to keep its form, but imagine if it were really bending and kind of twisting, to really get an understanding of how it moves, even though it, while trying to keep its form, right? And then same thing with this part of it as it goes into it. And then you get to like the shoulders, right, where your breast or your chest connects into that. And you got this guy right here, and it wraps around it. So at first it's in the front, and then as it starts to come up out into the arm, it starts to go behind it, right? It goes behind this bad boy right here. It doesn't just continue over, because that's what this would look like, right? If you tried to draw it staying in the front the whole time. That's what you get, right? Like this doesn't look right. It's supposed to be going behind the arm, not staying in front of it. Right? And then you trace that bad boy out and then connect it right into the breast. and those lead right into the center of the chest. And then with the breast, when you're looking at it from an angle, something I made a mistake a lot is I would draw the breast at the edge of the body instead of coming in like I did here, right? You really want to capture that depth by doing stuff or picking up on stuff and just remembering what's in front of what, who's in front of who. Like, you tell yourself over and over, like, what's in front of what, over and over again until you really feel like it's drilled into you. I like to leave myself notes and just whisper to myself, not in a creepy way, but I'll whisper to myself and talk to myself and ask myself questions, especially when you don't have anyone else to critique your work for you, right? You have to be your own critique or critic. And then once you get into the shoulders, you're gonna come out into the torso, right? Right there. And the torso comes into the body where it starts to lead into the abdomen. And then you get that right there. And then as you start to come back out, that's when you start to get where the abs, and it starts to flow into the down into the pelvis. All right. Now this one's a little long, but you guys get, I'm hoping you guys get the general idea. And then you have the lat, right? This thing right at the side. Not drawing this can tend to make your drawing come out a little thinner, or at least that's how it was for me. It felt like my drawings or my characters were coming out a little bit too skinny. And then from there, you just go into the arm, right? You can do some of these indents to show that the arm does break into two parts. But overall, you're not trying to get too detailed with the muscle mass or anything like that. You're just trying to still use fluid lines while giving some contours. And then as you lead down into the forearm, it almost, I want to say it covers, but it doesn't at the same time, where it covers a little bit, but as it starts to go deeper into the elbow, it starts to disappear or merge with the upper arm. And I'm thinking that's like where the ligaments and all that start to come into play. And then you just go out into your hand, etc. We're not really focused on that too much right now, but yeah. And then over here, it's the same thing, right? Got your arm, probably have your elbow right there. And you can just do little wacky shapes. The better you understand what shapes work for you, the easier these kind of processes will come to you, or the quicker you'll learn to get good at it. So use shapes that remind you of a certain part of the body and how to do it, and that'll help a lot. It's almost like finding your own style and understanding what really looks good to your eye and what works for your eye. And then you've got the hip, right? Comes all the way down. As it comes out into the thigh, it disappears because the thigh is in front, the upper thigh at least. And then right down into the thigh, you've got like a larger massive muscle in the front, right? And then you've got this larger massive muscle in the back. And then it comes down into the kneecap. You've got your knee right there. And then from there, you go off into the leg. And the leg has a nice thick piece of meaty muscle back there, which also has thinner pieces of muscles. But overall, I'm trying to keep it as overly and kind of loose as possible, right? And then for this side of the hip, same thing. Got the hip coming down and into it. The leg comes out. Has this nice bulge. You can't see the back because it's hidden behind one leg, right? The knee right there. Got some ligament here. This calf comes up or comes down into the feet, and that's it. Now you've got a well retraced sketch of what masses you're seeing in the front and behind each other. And then one thing you do want to do is break down your gesture after you feel like you kind of captured the idea of it. You don't have to, but it's a good thing to do after you finish something. Go over and look at it and say, what did this look like, or what did that look like, so on and so forth, right? This time we're just gonna focus on like trying to keep it loose and jigglypuff. You gotta like nice and bouncy. Now we got another sketch, right? It's a little looser, it's a little bit messier, but the whole point I got across was that I relaxed a little bit and made them a little bit more fluid, I want to say. Fluid in the sense that it's really organic, kind of like it's really mushy. I don't know. I don't know how to put it in the exact terms for you guys. Just think like, I like to think like a lumpy space princess from like Adventure Time, or that blobfish that looks like a creepy office dude that breathes too heavily. You basically gotta become goopy like a Gudra, sort of thing, right? So let's just go over this with your darker pencil, right? Just go over, grab your darker pencil, and let's go over this one more time. So you've got the shoulder blades, they're nice and loose. Muscles to the back, this leads into the buttocks. All right, you got this shoulder right here, comes out into the arm, which also leads into the lat. You've got your little elbow joint, the meat, the ligament, right? Then you come on over here and do the same thing. It's really just kind of trying to figure out how the muscles interlock with each other, I want to say, or how the joints interlock with each other, so knowing what's going to be overlapping the other one. And that's where anatomy comes in, understanding a little bit about muscle anatomy. But as you can see, right, you are getting a little bit more lifelike resemblances. Like you can really see the parts of the body a little bit more. Not too much, but it still shows out more than in like a regular gesture drawing. And don't be afraid to adjust your drawing with the when you start going over with the darker pencil, don't be afraid to adjust your drawing a little bit. Like you can notice that I'm not following these lines exactly. They're more of like a guidance as to how I started and where things should kind of be. But obviously sometimes things will be out of place. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and correct those if you feel like it's out of place in your based on the gesture that you were, or the model you were looking at. Right, and there you go. And it's always good to just repeat this process as many times as you feel like you need to, until you get it right, or until you feel like you're really starting to improve. Got the lat, and like I'm doing over here, pick apart the body and figure out what shapes maybe didn't work too well for you, or didn't feel comfortable while you were drawing it, and just try to adjust it on the side of your paper to a way that feels like it's more correct. And go ahead and just bust out an anatomy drawing if you really want to get into it. So, drawing overlapping shapes and whatnot. So imagine if you had a circle, and you have another circle, or an oval, and another oval, right? One's behind the other, etc. Now, what you want to do is, right, so say once you draw this part of the oval or the circle, you're going to start drawing the other oval or circle behind it, where you left off at these lines right here, right? Because that's the indicator that this bigger shape goes behind the smaller one as it gets to the top of that. or right here, right? And this one at the top, it starts to be the one in the front, and then as it starts to come around, the bottom one is the one that starts doing the leading in the front, and then the top one hides in the back. And it's all about repetition. Just kind of draw wacky shapes over each other, and then just maybe go over with a darker pencil, right? Go over like, okay, so I want to say this one is in the front of here, right? And then this one comes over here and goes behind, right? And now you've got this kind of ice cream looking thing. Or let's see, do something like reaching out to something, like it's some sort of slime monster and it's kind of trying to grab stuff around it, right? Like just draw some random looking ovals and shapes, and then go ahead with a darker pencil and decide which one is in the front and which one is in the back, and so on and so forth. And those are pretty much all the shapes you really want to, or all the odd figures you really want to use. Stuff that's really wacky looking, like I said before. Now, take these drawings and really peel open those drawing gans. Matter of fact, go blind. Open up that Mangekyo drawing gan. I've already given up my right eye as we speak. You know, go ahead and go all out and start drawing up a storm. You know what I'm saying? I hope you guys like the video. You guys can go ahead and leave a comment, a subscription, a like. Let me know what you guys want to see next. And go check out my Instagram page at 4D Owl. You can see some of my more finished work there. And I'll see you guys in the next one.